Hello everyone! The Turkish film begins with a poor woman named Nurtin who was suffering from labor pains, while her husband Mustafa seemed extremely worried about her. At the same time, a wealthy woman is also giving birth, but her health condition is very critical. The assistant of the wealthy woman named Najla contacts her husband Zaher and informs him that his wife is losing a lot of blood and needs to be transferred to the hospital immediately. Otherwise, she will die. Najla was shocked when Zaher confessed to her that he wished for his wife's death in order to seize her fortune, and he only asked her to save the fetus. We return to Nurtin, who gives birth to a baby girl, filling her life and that of her husband Mustafa with joy after many years of infertility. Meanwhile, Zaher arrives at the hospital and finds that his wife and the little girl have already passed away. And it seems that he does not care about his wife's death and is only interested in saving the little girl. Najla told him that his wife did not trust him because she had insisted that all her fortune go to their daughter, forbidding Zaher from receiving anything from that wealth until the young girl grew up and got married, and that she had requested to transfer all her fortune to charitable organizations because she knew her husband's greed and that his only interest was money. Zaher then decides not to give up his wife's money and orders Najla to kidnap a newborn so he can register the child as his own and execute the will. The next day, Najla goes to a seedy neighborhood inhabited by thieves and meets their leader, who had once caused her to lose an eye, and at first he thinks she has come to take revenge. But he is surprised when she offers him $100,000 to kidnap an infant, and the leader accepts and introduces her to his adopted son Zarok. And at that moment, Mustafa and his wife Nurtin are working in their garden and take their little daughter everywhere out of fear, after many long years of waiting before her birth. When the heat becomes unbearable, Mustafa suggests to Nurtin that she go home with the little one, but his wife insists on helping him earn their daily bread, and she cannot leave the child alone. So she decides to make a small bed for her near the tree so she can sleep there while he works. And suddenly, the leader of the gang hired by Najla arrives and decides to kidnap the little girl, sending Zarok to carry out the mission. Nurtin hears her daughter's cries and discovers her disappearance, then calls her husband, who runs after the kidnappers in vain, and Nurtin wept bitterly. Shortly after, Zarok's adoptive father hands the little girl over to Najla, while Zarok finds a bracelet on the baby's wrist and gives it to Najla, who returns it to him as a gift because he completed the kidnapping mission. Then, Najla hands the little girl over to Zaher, who notices a spot on her body and thinks she is ill. Najla reassures her by saying that the spot on the little girl's body is just a simple birthmark that will stay with her for life. And while Zarok's father was counting the money, Zaher's guard killed him in order to erase all evidence of their crime. And after several years, Mustafa organizes a symbolic funeral for his kidnapped daughter, considering her dead, while Nurtin does not lose hope, convinced that his little girl is still alive and that she will return one day. Zarok grows up and starts helping Mustafa and Nurtin with the gardening work out of guilt, never revealing his role in the kidnapping of the little girl, who also grows up in Zaher's house and leads a life of wealth. And we learn that her name is Zelis and that she has a birthmark in the shape of the letter Z, which she sees as a sign that she will fall in love with a man whose name starts with that letter. She complains to her father's friend Zaher, who keeps her locked up at home and shows no interest in her. The next day, Zelis is preparing for her engagement to the son of Zaher's business partner, whom she despises. However, Zaher insists on this marriage to fulfill the conditions of his late wife's will and receive the inheritance after Zelis's marriage. Zelis is with her friend, who shows her a necklace bearing the same letter as her birthmark and advises her to forget her dreams and accept reality. Meanwhile, Zarok steals some money and escapes through the forest, then accidentally enters Zaher's palace to hide, while Zelis's fiancé argues with his father because he refuses to marry her. But his father forces him to do so in order to share the inheritance with Zaher. And at that moment, Zarok sneaks into Zelis's room, steals her necklace, then hides without realizing that she is the same child he had kidnapped before. Zelis enters the room, sees Zarok and lets out a scream. Then Zarok jumps out the window and lands among the guests. But he steals Zelis's fiancé's watch and runs away. And later, Zelis finds a sneaker that Zarok left behind, which has the same letter as on her necklace and the same birthmark as on her body. So Zelis thinks her dream has come true, and that she has found the boy of her dreams. The next day, Zelis goes with her friend to the thieves' cafe in search of the owner of the shoe, and Zarok spots the two girls and hides, thinking they are after him. Zelis's friend announces that she will give $1,000 to whoever owns the shoe. Then the customers start pushing and shoving as each one claims to be the owner. But Zelis and her friend end up discouraged because they haven't found him, and they leave. However, the thieves follow them and try to steal their money. Zarok intervenes and defeats the thieves, but he bumps into Zelis, who falls and sees the necklace around his neck, and convinces himself that Zarok is the one who was in his room. However, his friend interrupts them and takes him away from the place. And the next day, Zelis disguises himself, follows Zarok to his house, sneaks inside, and notices that the letter on the necklace is written on most of his belongings. Zarok suddenly comes out of the bathroom, so Zelis hides, but she bumps into the wall and loses consciousness. Then, she comes to and finds herself in front of Zarok, who asks her why she was spying on him. And Zelis tells him the story of the birthmark on her body and the letter on the necklace. But Zarok mocks her words and explains that he put that letter as a mark on his belongings in a neighborhood full of thieves so that no one would steal them from him. Zelis tells him that she is being forced to marry the son of her father's business partner, who is a police officer. Then Zarok becomes troubled, gives her back the necklace, and asks her to leave for fear of being arrested. But Zelis leaves the necklace with him as a keepsake, and she notices a bracelet on his desk and asks for permission to keep it as a memento. But Zarok refuses, because it's the bracelet with which the little girl was once kidnapped, and Zarok keeps it to fulfill his promise to bring the girl back to her mother. Zelis returns home and discovers that her cell phone was left at Zarok's place. So she is forced to go back, breaks the door and quickly retrieves her phone. And that night, Zarok visits the home of Nurten and Mustafa, who are Zelis's real parents. Zarok was carrying a box of clothes to distribute to those in need, and Mustafa is surprised to see a thief doing charity. Then Zarok is moved when he sees Nurting's tears caused by being separated from her daughter. His feeling of guilt grows, and he wishes he could return her child to her, not realizing that the young girl he met is actually his daughter. While Zelis was talking with Zarok, two men attacked them and wanted to beat Zarok to get back the money he had stolen from them. So Zarok kidnapped Zelis, and he ran away with her quickly before he could catch her. And he noticed, while they were fleeing, that she was happy to spend time with him, even though she was the daughter of a wealthy family, and he was just a thief. And after she returned home, Zelis told her friend everything that had happened, and for the first time, she felt real joy, because her father Zaire always keeps her locked up at home. Zelis started sneaking into the neighborhood where Zarok lives and spent more time with him. And as the days went by, their relationship grew stronger, and Zelis asked him about his family and why he lived alone. So Zarok told her that he was born in an orphanage and didn't know his real parents, and that a gang leader had adopted him when he was 6 years old. But then he was killed right before his eyes, and it was the same man that Zaire's guard had killed in the past. Zelis confessed to Zarok that she loved him and wanted to commit to him, so Zarok suffered because of it. And he confirmed to her that he wasn't good enough for her because he was poor and she came from a wealthy family. Then he walked her home, and Zelis told him that she was holding on to her love for him, then left him. And when she entered the house, Zahir hit her because she was late and forbade her from going out. So Zelisha went back to her room angry, convinced that Zahir wasn't her real father because of the way he treated her so badly. The next day, Zahir met with his business partner and Zelisha's fiancée, and he told them that Zelisha's behavior had become strange again, suggesting a secret relationship between her and an unknown person, and that he needed to finalize the marriage quickly to seize the fortune of his late wife. Meanwhile, Zelisha's fiancé confirmed to them that he had tried to get closer to Zelisha many times, but she kept avoiding him. And by chance he ran into Zelisha's friend and asked him about the reason for her recent change. And her friend told her that she had met a young man named Zarok and that she liked him a lot. Najla was shocked when she heard the name Zarok, because she had once made a deal with the gang leader who had adopted Zarok to kidnap Zelis when she was an infant. Then, she went to meet Zarok, who saw her, recognized her, and asked what she wanted from him. And Najla asked him not to see Zelis anymore because the situation could cause her serious problems. And when Zelis's fiancé threatened to kill him if he got close to her, Zarok pinned him to the ground, and he was very surprised when he finally realized that Zelis was the child he had kidnapped from her parents several years ago. Zarok went back home and took Zelis's old bracelet, feeling happy to have finally found her and determined to atone for his mistake by returning her to her real mother while Zelis slept, feeling depressed. Then Zarok went to her and told her that he would save her from that place. And when Zahir entered her room and didn't find her, he hit Najla because she was responsible for her, and Najla remembered her suffering when she was a servant to his wife, and how Zahir had forced her to plot with him to kill his wife out of greed for her money. Zahir called on his associate, the officer, to locate Zelis through her phone at the same time that Zarok decided to take Zelis to her real parents, Mustafa and Nurten, to reveal the truth to them. On the way, Zelis insisted on playing with a flock of sheep. Then Zarok asked her what her greatest wish was, and Zelis told him that she wished to see her deceased mother. Zarok was moved and asked Zelis to stay where she was. Then he hurried to his parents to bring them, and suddenly Zahir's men kidnapped Zelis. So Zarok chased after them, but another car abducted him as well. Then Zelis, unconscious, was taken to her fiancé's place. And after she regained consciousness, Zahir informed Zelis that she would marry her fiancé tomorrow in accordance with the will. And to get his hands on his late wife's money, Zelis tried to run away, but Najla pushed her back and calmed her down, and then confessed to her that she was not Zahir's daughter, but had been kidnapped when she was little so that Zahir could seize his wife's fortune, who had been killed because of him. And when Zelis broke down, Najla told her that the only way to save herself was to agree to marry her fiancé and then escape later. Zahir brought the wedding dress to Zelis and ordered her to get ready for the ceremony. A lawyer came and explained to Zahir that the signing of the marriage contract between Zelis and her fiancé would transfer $200 million into Zahir's account. Then Zahir ordered Zelis's fiancé to kill Zarok after the marriage contract was signed, so as not to ruin their plan. Zelis's fiancé tried to throw Zarok off the roof of the building, but he saw him staring at Zelis, who was wearing the wedding dress in the building across the street. So he hit him. Then Zelis's fiancé received a call from his father, who ordered him to return to the company for the signing of the marriage contract. Zelis's fiancé ordered his men to push Zarok off the roof after the wedding, while Zelis's friend arrived with Zarok's friend. And they asked Zarok to save Zelis and prevent the signing of the marriage contract. Then Zarok jumped from one building to another and reached Zelis before the contract was signed. Meanwhile, his friends stormed Zahir's office and demolished it, causing great chaos. Then Zelis collapsed upon seeing Zarok, who was injured, and Najla helped them escape and asked Zelis to take her to her real parents. Zelis sped away in her car to escape, but her fiancé blocked her path. So Zelis ran him over with her car and drove off. And they arrived at Mustafa and Nurten's house at night. Then Zarok confessed that he was the one who had kidnapped Zelis when she was a child. Then he lost consciousness, and Mustafa heard his daughter's screams. Then they carried Zarok into the house and took care of him. And when he regained consciousness, Zarok found Zelis asleep in his parents' house. So he went out to speak frankly with Mustafa. Zelis woke up and saw Nurten, who felt deep in her heart that she was her lost daughter. Zarok confessed to Nurten that he had kidnapped Zelis when she was a child and gave her the bracelet, explaining that Zelis was her real daughter. And at the same moment, Zelis saw a photo of Nurten holding her baby with a similar bracelet. Then she understood the truth and threw herself into her mother's arms, and the family was finally reunited. And it seems that Zarok is happy because he has atoned for his wrongdoing. And sometime later, Zarok was imprisoned for theft, and he told his story to the prison officer and to his children. And when Zarok was released from prison, he found Zelis waiting for him. So they got into the car together and decided to start a new life.